Hey everybody, Michael Snyder here, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is August 28th, and right now we are looking at the infrared satellite imagery. Here's the Pacific Ocean, the Hawaiian Islands, BC, Washington, Oregon, California. You can see our trough digging out across the Gulf of Alaska. It's going to bring a ridge through midweek here coming up. We're going to warm up pretty nicely across the region. You can see this cutoff low just aimlessly drifting west, northwest of the Hawaiian Islands. Take a look at the intertropical convergence zone. You can see some lightning strikes down there, pretty typical this time of year. And you can see that we've got this trade flow going towards the Hawaiian Islands, the trade wind. So basically, this air mass can move over 1,000 miles across the ocean here. And as it moves across the ocean, it relatively warms up. And as it reaches the Hawaiian Islands, it's unstable at about 7, 8, 9,000 feet. And as that air mass moves into the terrain there, it brings these gentle trade showers that are a very persistent feature there throughout the year in the Hawaiian Islands, especially during the summertime. Now, taking a look at SeaTac yesterday, 70 degrees, 6 degrees below average. Look at this, only 5/100ths of an inch this year. They average about 0.97 inches there. So SeaTac well below average precipitation for August. This is for Lake Washington, the weather forecast office there, Seattle. Look, only 7/100ths of an inch. The average is 1 inch there. 5 degrees below average today, but we are going to warm up for sure coming up here midweek. Looking at Quileute, Washington, look at the 62 degrees. The vampires are rejoicing in this weather. It doesn't look like it's going to warm up there much this week either. They should stay fairly mild. But look at this, only 1/2 inch of rain for Quileute. The normal is 2.64 inches this time in the month of August. Medford, Oregon, southwest Oregon here, you can see this is the rum fire. It's kicking off quite a bit of smoke. So if you're wondering where that smoke's coming from and you're seeing it, that is the reason there. You can check that on the weather.gov site. And yeah, you can kind of check out where that's going to move. We're also going to look at the HRRR here in a moment. We'll check that out. Looking at Medford yesterday, 86 degrees, average high of 89. We're going to go above average up through this midweek coming up here. As you can see, August was generally above average for most of the month here for Medford, Oregon. Now, this is the HRRR 12Z run. The HRRR 3-kilometer high-resolution model runs every hour. 12Z every 6 hours. It goes out 48 hours. But you can see the rum fire firing up pretty good this afternoon. This is the Four Corners fire out here through Idaho. And you can see the smoke kind of just drifting around the area almost all the way out to the Oregon coast here, even getting up towards the Cascades a bit. So if you're wondering where that smoke is coming from, it's mainly the Four Corners fire and the rum fire here. You can see Washington and BC are doing pretty good for this time of year. You guys know how bad it gets. And just remember that most of these forest fires are human caused. Some are lightning caused, but humans have a big play in this too. So if we all, try to remain careful here, maybe we can limit the forest fire starts here that come up through the month of later August here into September. We can still really get some good smoke around the area here if we bust some fires out right now. Now, taking a look here, the NAM 3KM, this is the 12Z run, 925 millibars, 2,500 feet. You can see that westerly flow through the gaps of the Cascades of Washington, and the gorge there relaxes as we go through today. We start to turn these winds offshore, and by Monday, you can see these winds going offshore pretty well here. And by Tuesday morning, some pretty strong offshore flow going on across the region here. It's going to help warm us up here across the area. And I like to look at this level of the winds just to kind of show this offshore component. A lot of the surface winds are kind of squirrely, and they follow a sea breeze activity, especially on the coastlines and the Puget Sound and everything. So I like to kind of look at the winds just above the surface here to try to pick up some of that offshore flow component. Now, looking here, we're looking at the the deterministic model. You can see the big ridge over the Aleutians, and this trough's going to dig out, amplify our ridge. We're really going to warm up this week because of that. You can see that cutoff low here across, northwest of the Hawaiian Islands. But here we go into the future here. Here we go into tomorrow, Monday. That trough really digs out over the Pacific Ocean. There goes the ridge, bringing us our warmth this week. And as we go on in towards later this week, the ridge hangs out. And then finally we get some cool down coming in here. Looks like Friday, Saturday, before the ridge tries to rebuild in the wake of that system, as well as the Gulf of Alaska trough still going. Now, where this one sets up is going to determine just how warm we get on in through the following week. So you can see it's pretty close here, and this starts to bring a tight gradient, would bring some good onshore flow with it there, but we should warm up a bit, it looks like. But again, no rush. We've got time to look at that here in the future. This is the 2-meter temperature anomaly here, looking at the same map: Alaska, BC, Washington, Oregon, Hawaiian Islands. And you can see our heat build up here as we go through midweek coming up here. And then a little bit of a cool down here as we go through the weekend, then potentially building some heat, mainly east of the Cascades, though, as you can see here. on the 2-meter temperature anomaly. Now looking here, this is the European 6-hour precip and mean sea level pressure. We're just going to go and put this into motion here. You can see the storm track just barreling in to western BC and southeast Alaska, sorry. And then you can see this low pressure out here. Swings a very weak front towards the Pacific Northwest here in through early September, then potentially building that a little bit of a ridge back up in the wake of that. As you can see, southeast Alaska just continues to get battered. They've been well above average here across places like Juneau as far as their rainfall has been going for, rainfall totals so far this year. And then maybe another weak front and they extended after that. But again, we have a lot of time to look at that in the future. These systems have kind of been trending a little bit weaker here for the Pacific Northwest and mainly staying north of the area. Now, taking a look here, this is the ensemble mean. We're just going to run through this and see what kind of agreement we have. This is an average of all 50 European ensemble members. You can see the trough digging, ridge building, holds on until about Friday, a little bit of a break on the weekend, then maybe build that ridge back up again in the wake, depending on the position of this Gulf of Alaska trough. This is looking at the GFS ensemble mean here. This is the 12Z. Let's go ahead and update this. We have the most data we can handle here, and as you see, we go with that big trough, big ridge, holds on through the end of the week here, a little bit of a cool down, then that ridge tries to rebuild, but it's a big cat and mouse game here between this ridge and this trough. Right now it looks like we're going to have some onshore component here, so we shouldn't warm up too much the following week here. It doesn't look like as of right now. Now looking at Portland, you can see today, I think they're probably going for low 80s today, and by midweek here, you can see plainly into the 90s, maybe even flirting with the 100-degree reading here on Tuesday for Portland. Checking out Seattle, maybe flirting with 90 on Wednesday. Could we get there? Not sure yet. Probably upper 80s is more likely, but we could flirt with 90 as we get 4 days of 80 plus likely, and probably a nice day up into the upper 70s today, I would think, before we start to cool back down for the weekend. Here's Medford, Oregon. Look at this, 4 days scheduled for 90 plus here as we go through early and mid this week. And you can see Quilly really not warming up too much. Maybe a day up into the lower 70s on Tuesday, but vampires rejoice out there. Maybe some low clouds even hanging around a bit as we get a little bit of an onshore flow just at the surface there, keeping some low clouds around. So yeah, we're going to build this. We're going to do this heat again coming up this week. And right now it doesn't look like any big systems will impact the Pacific Northwest in the future here, just through the extent of the 10-day period. But after that, it's that time of year. The jet stream starts to sag a little bit further south, and we start to get these systems moving in the area more. But right now, it looks like this trough has been digging out far enough that it's going to continue to bring systems into southeast Alaska and spare Pacific Northwest. But again, that can change. We'll continue to watch this day by day as we go here. So yeah, I hope you guys liked the hype video yesterday. I'm doing a little bit of a surgical process tomorrow, so I'll probably do a briefing in the morning, and it's not a big deal, but I might miss Tuesday or Wednesday. We'll check that out. So if I don't do a briefing, you'll know why. It's just because that. But yeah, click like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.